All right, good morning, everybody. We are starting today with the Sri Vishnu Purana, chapter 10 of book 1. Continuing with the teachings of Maharshi Parashara to his Shishya Maitreya. Maitreya said, "You have narrated to me, great Muni, all that I asked of you. Now resume the account of the creation subsequently to Bhrigu." So Parashara has been going through this genealogy, and they had an aside talking about Mahalakshmi Mata, but are now going ahead with the rest of the history. Parashara continued, Lakshmi, the bride of Vishnu, was the daughter of Bhrigu by Kyati. They had also 2 sons, Dhatri and Vidhati, who married the 2 daughters of the illustrious Meru, Ayati and Niryati, and had by them each a son, named Prana and Mrakanda. The son of the latter, Prakanda, was Markandeya, from whom Vedashiras was born. The son of Prana was named Dyutimat, and his son was Rajavat, after whom the race of Bhrigu became infinitely multiplied. Sambhuti, the wife of Marichi, gave birth to Purnamasa, whose sons were Virajas and Sarvaga. I shall hereafter notice his other descendants when I give a more particular account of the race of Marichi later. The wife of Angiras, Smriti, bore daughters named Shinivali, Kuhu, Raka, and Anumati. Anasuya, the wife of Atri, was the mother of 3 sinless sons, Soma, the Deva, Soma Deva, Durvasas, and the ascetic Dattatreya. Pulastya had, by Priti, a son called in a former birth, or in the a former birth in the Swayambhuva Manvantara, Dattoli. Dattoli, who is now known as the great sage Agastya. Kshama, the wife of the patriarch Pulaha, was the mother of 3 sons, Karmasa, Aruvarivat, and Sahishnu. The wife of Kratu, Sannati, brought forth the 60,000 Valakilyas, the pygmy sages, no bigger than the joint of the thumb, chaste, pious, and resplendent as the rays of the sun. Vasishta had 7 sons by his wife Urja, Rajas, Gatra, Urdhvabhahu, Savana, Anagha, Sutapas, and Shukra, the 7 pure sages. The Agni named Abhimani, who is the eldest born of Brahma, had by Swaha 3 sons of surpassing brilliancy, Pavaka, Pavamana, and Suchi, who drinks up water. These here are all devas we're talking about. They had 45 sons, who, with the original son of Brahma and his 3 descendants, constitute the 49 Agni devas. The Pitris, who, as I have mentioned, were created by Brahma, were the Agnishvatas and the Barhishads. The former, the Agnishvatas, meaning those devoid of fire, and the Barhishads being the Pitris who are possessed of fires. By them, Svadha had 2 daughters, Mena and Dharani, who were both acquainted with theological truth and both addicted to religious meditation, both accomplished in perfect wisdom and adorned with all estimable qualities. Thus has been explained the progeny of the daughters of Daksha. He who with faith recapitulates the account shall never want offspring. Chapter 11. Parashara continued. I mentioned to you previously that the Manu Swayambhuva had 2 heroic and pious sons, Priyavrata and Uttanapada. Of these 2, the latter had a son whom he dearly loved, Uttama, by his favorite wife Suruchi. By his other queen, named Suniti, to whom he was less attached, he also had a son, called Dhruva. Observing his brother Uttama on the lap of his father, as he was seated upon his throne, Dhruva was desirous of ascending to the same place, but as Suruchi was present, the Raja did not gratify the desire of his son, respectfully wishing to be taken on his father's knee. Maitreya said, I'm assuming that is meant to be Parashara said. Beholding the child of her rival thus anxious to be placed on his father's lap, and her own son already seated there, Suruchi thus addressed the boy. Why, child, do you vainly indulge in such presumptuous hopes? You are born from a different mother and are no son of mine that you should aspire inconsiderately to a station fit for the excellent Uttama alone. It is true you are the son of the Raja, but I have not given you birth. This regal throne, the seat of the King of Kings, is suited to my son only. Why should you aspire to its occupation? Why idly cherish such lofty ambition as if you were my son? Do you forget that you are but the offspring of Suniti? Parashara continued. The boy, having heard the speech of his stepmother, quitted his father and repaired in a passion to the apartment of his own mother, who, beholding him vexed, took him upon her lap, and gently smiling, asked him what was the cause of his anger, who had displeased him, and if anyone, forgetting the respect due to his father, had behaved ill to him. Dhruva, in reply, repeated to her all that the arrogant Suruchi had said to him in the presence of the king. Deeply distressed by the narrative of the boy, the humble Suniti, her eyes dimmed with tears, sighed and said, Suruchi has rightly spoken. Thine child is an unhappy fate. Those who are born to fortune are not liable to the insults of their rivals. Yet be not afflicted, my child, for who shall effect what you have formerly done, or shall assign to you what you have left undone? The regal throne, the umbrella of royalty, horses and elephants are his whose virtues have deserved them. Remember this, my son, and be consoled. That the king favor Suruchi is the reward of her merits in a former existence. The name of wife alone belongs to such as I who have not equal merit. A mere wife and not the queen, in other words. Her son is the progeny of unaccumulated piety and is born as accumulated piety and is born as Uttama. Mine has been born as Dhruva, of inferior moral worth. Therefore, my son, it is not proper for you to grieve. A wise man will be contented with that degree which appertains to him. But if you continue to feel hurt at the words of Suruchi, endeavor to augment due religious merit which bestows all good. Be amiable, be pious, be friendly, be assiduous in benevolence to all living creatures, for prosperity descends upon modest worth, as water flows toward low ground. Dhruva answered, Mother, the words that you have addressed to me for my consolation find no place in a heart that contumely has broken. I will exert myself to obtain such elevated rank that it shall be revered by the whole world. Though I be born not of Suruchi, the beloved of the king, you shall behold my glory who am your son. Let Uttama, my brother, her child, possess the throne given to him by my father. I wish for no other honors than such as my own actions shall acquire, such as even my father has not enjoyed. Parashara continued, having thus spoken, Dhruva went forth from his mother's dwelling. He quitted the city and entered an adjoining thicket, where he beheld 7 munis sitting upon hides of the black antelope, which they had taken from off their persons and spread over the holy kusha grass. Saluting them reverentially and bowing humbly before them, the prince said, Behold in me, venerable men, the son of Uttanapada, born of Suniti. Dissatisfied with the world, I appear before you. The rishis replied, The son of a Raja, and but 4 or 5 years of age. There can be no reason, child, why you should be dissatisfied with life. You cannot be in want of anything, whilst the Raja, your father, reigns. We cannot imagine that you suffer the pain of separation from the object of your affections, nor do we observe in your person any sign of disease. What is the cause of your discontent? Tell us if it is known to yourself. Parashara said, Dhruva then repeated to the rishis what Suruchi had spoken to him, and when they had heard his story, they said to one another, How surprising is the vehemence of the Kshatriya nature, that resentment is cherished even by a child, and he cannot efface from his mind the harsh speeches of a stepmother. Son of a Kshatriya, tell us, if it be agreeable to you, what you have proposed, through dissatisfaction with the world, to accomplish. If you wish our aid in what you have to do, declare it freely, for we perceive that you are desirous to speak. Dhruva said, Excellent sages, I wish not for riches, neither do I want dominion. I aspire to such a station as no one before me has attained. Tell me what I must do to effect this object, how I may reach an elevation superior to all other dignities. The rishis severally thus replied. Marichi said, The best of stations is not within the reach of men who fail to propitiate Govinda. Do you, prince, worship the undecaying Achyuta? Atri said, He with whom the first of spirits, Janardana, is pleased, obtains imperishable dignity. I declare unto you the truth. Angira said, if you desire an exalted station, worship that Govinda, in whom, immutable and undecaying, all that is exists. Pulastya said, he who adores the divine Hari, the supreme soul of supreme glory, who is the supreme Brahman, obtains what is difficult of attainment, eternal liberation. When that Janardana, Kratu observed, who in yajnas is the soul of yajna, and who in abstract contemplation is supreme spirit, is pleased, there is nothing man may not acquire. Pulaha said, Indra, having worshipped the Lord of the world, obtained the dignity of Raja of the Devas. Do you adore, pious youth, that Vishnu, the Lord of Yajna? Vasishta exclaimed, anything, child, that the mind covets may be obtained by propitiating Vishnu, even though it be the station that is the most excellent in the three worlds. Dhruva replied to them, you have told me, humbly bending before you, what deity is to be propitiated. Now inform me what prayer is to be meditated upon by me that will offer him gratification. May the Maharshis, looking upon me with favor, instruct me how I am to propitiate the god. The Rishis answered, Prince, you deserve to hear how the adoration of Vishnu has been performed by those who have been devoted to his service. The mind must first be made to forsake all external impressions, and man must then fix it steadily on that being in whom the world is. By him whose thoughts are thus concentrated on one only object, and wholly filled by it, whose spirit is firmly under control, the prayer that we shall repeat to you is to be inaudibly recited. Om, glory to Vasudeva, whose essence is divine wisdom, whose form is inscrutable, or is manifest as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. This prayer, which was formerly uttered by our grandsire, the Manu Swayambhuva, and propitiated by which Vishnu conferred upon him the prosperity he desired, and which was unequaled in the three worlds, is to be recited by you. Do you constantly repeat this prayer for the gratification of Govinda? The process which they just, in very brief, taught him is, of course, the process of releasing the mind from engagement with exterior things, and then dharana, dhyana, and mantra japa. Chapter 12. The prince, having received these instructions, respectfully saluted the sages and departed from the forest, fully confident in the accomplishment of his purposes. He repaired to the holy place on the banks of the Yamuna River, called Madhu, or Madhuvana, meaning the forest of Madhu, the grove of Madhu, after the asura of that name, Madhusura, who formerly abided there. Shatrughna, the younger brother of Ramachandra, having slain the Rakshasa Lavana, the son of Madhu, founded a city on the spot, which was named Mathura. At this holy shrine, the purifier from all sin, which enjoyed the presence of the sanctifying god of gods, Dhruva performed tapas, as enjoined by Marichi and the other sages. He contemplated Vishnu, the sovereign of all the gods, seated in himself. Whilst his mind was wholly absorbed in meditation, the mighty Hari, identical with all beings and with all natures, took possession of his heart. Vishnu being thus present in his mind, the earth, the supporter of elemental life, could not sustain the weight of the ascetic. As he stood upon his left foot, one hemisphere bent beneath him, and when he stood upon his right, the other half of the earth sank down. When he touched the earth with his toes, it shook with all its mountains, and the rivers and the seas were troubled, and the gods partook of the universal agitation. The celestials called yamas, being excessively alarmed, these were the equivalent of the adityas. In our present Manvantara, we have the adityas, but then they had the yamas. Then took counsel with Indra how they should interrupt the devout exercises of Dhruva, and the divine beings, termed Kushmandas, in company with their king, commenced anxious efforts to distract his meditations. One, assuming the semblance of his mother Suniti, stood weeping before him and calling in tender accents, my son, Desist from destroying thy strength by this fearful tapas. I have gained you, my son, after much anxious hope. You cannot have the cruelty to quit me, helpless, alone, and unprotected on account of the unkindness of my rival. You are my only refuge. I have no hope but you. What have you, a child but 5 years old, to do with rigorous tapas? Desist from such fearful practices that yield no beneficial fruit. First comes the season of youthful play, and when that is over, it is the time for study. Then succeeds the period of worldly enjoyment, and lastly, that of austere devotion. This is your season of play, my child. Have you engaged in these practices to put an end to your existence? Your chief duty is love for me. Duties are according to time of life. Lose not thyself in bewildering error. Desist from such adharmic actions. If you will not desist from these austerities, I will end my life before you. But Dhruva, being wholly intent on seeing Vishnu, beheld not his mother weeping in his presence and calling upon him. And the illusion, crying out, Fly, fly, my child, the hideous spirits of ill are crowding into this dreadful forest with uplifted weapons, quickly disappeared. Then advanced frightful Rakshasas, wielding terrible arms, and with countenances emitting fiery flame, and nocturnal fiends thronged around the prince, uttering fearful noises, and whirling and tossing their threatening weapons. Hundreds of jackals, from whose mouths gushed flames as they devoured their prey, were bowling aloud to appall the boy, who was wholly engrossed in meditation. The goblins called out, kill him, cut him to pieces, eat him. And monsters with the faces of lions and camels and crocodiles roared and yelled with horrible cries to terrify the prince. But all these uncouth specters, appalling cries, and threatening weapons made no impression upon his senses, whose mind was completely intent on Govinda, the son of the monarch of the earth, engrossed by one only idea, beheld uninterruptedly Vishnu seated in his soul, and saw no other object. All their delusive stratagems being thus foiled, the Devas were more perplexed than ever. Alarmed at their discomfiture, and afflicted by the devotions of the boy, they assembled and repaired for succor to Hari, the origin of the world, who is without beginning or end, and thus addressed him. The Devas said, God of gods, sovereign of the world, God supreme and infinite spirit, distressed by the austerities of Dhruva, we have come to you for protection. As the moon increases in his orb day by day, so this youth advances incessantly towards superhuman power by his devotions. Terrified by the ascetic practices of the son of Uttanapada, we have come to you for succor. Do you allay the fervor of his meditations. We know not to what station he aspires, to the throne of Indra, the regency of the solar or the lunar sphere, or to the sovereignty of riches or of the deep. Have compassion on us, Lord. Remove this affliction from our breasts. Divert the son of Uttanapada from persevering in his tapas. Vishnu replied to the Devas, the lad desireth neither the rank of Indra, nor the solar orb, nor the sovereignty of wealth or of the ocean. All that he solicits I will grant. Return therefore, deities, to your mansions as ye list, and be no more alarmed. I will put an end to the tapas of the boy, whose mind is immersed in deep contemplation. The Devas, being thus pacified by the Supreme, saluted him respectfully and retired, and preceded by Indra returned to their habitations. But Hari, who is all things, assuming a shape with 4 arms, proceeded to Dhruva, being pleased with his identity of nature, and thus addressed him. Vishnu said, Son of Uttanapada, be prosperous. Contented with your devotions, I, the giver of boons, am present. Demand what boon you desire. In that you have wholly disregarded external objects and fixed your thoughts on me, I am well pleased with you. Ask, therefore, a suitable reward. The boy, hearing these words of the God of gods, opened his eyes, and beholding that Hari whom he had before seen in his meditations, actually in his presence, bearing in his hands the shell, the discus, the mace, the bow, and scimitar, and crowned with a diadem, he bowed his head down to earth. The hair stood erect on his brow, and his heart was depressed with awe. Depressed is a bit of an awkward translation here, meaning more impressed with awe. That awe made a great impression on his heart. He reflected how best he should offer thanks to the God of gods, what he could say in his adoration, what words were capable of expressing his praise, and being overwhelmed with perplexity, He had recourse for consolation to the deity. Dhruva exclaimed, "If the Lord is contented with my devotions, let this be my reward, that I may know how to praise him as I wish. How can I, a child, pronounce his praises, whose abode is unknown to Brahma and to others learned in the Vedas? My heart is overflowing with devotion to you. O Lord, grant me the faculty worthy to lay mine adorations at your feet." Whilst lowly bowing, with his hands uplifted to his forehead, Govinda, the Lord of the world, touched the son of Uttanapada with the tip of his conch shell, and immediately the royal youth, with a countenance sparkling with delight, praised respectfully the imperishable protector of living beings. And these praises, all the times when we get these praises, they are more eloquent in the Sanskrit, given in verse and so on, than comes across in the English. Dhruva exclaimed, "I venerate him whose forms are earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intellect, ahankara, primeval nature, and the pure, subtle, all-pervading soul that surpasses nature. Salutation to that spirit that is void of qualities, that is supreme over all the elements and all the objects of sense, over intellect, over nature and spirit. I have taken refuge with that pure form of thine, O supreme, which is one with Brahman, which is spirit, which transcends all the world. Salutation to that form which, pervading and supporting all, is designated Brahman, unchangeable, and contemplated by religious sages. You are the Purusha with 1,000 heads, 1,000 eyes, 1,000 feet, who traversest the universe and passest 10 inches beyond the universe's edge. Whatever has been or is to be, that Purushottama you are. From you sprang Virat, Svarat, Samrat, and Adhipurusha. Which commentators on the Vishnu Purana explain this line as referring to Brahma, the creator, Manu, the ruler of the Manvantara, and the Brahmanda, the material universe, and the supreme spirit presiding over them all. The lower and upper and middle parts of the earth are not independent of you. From you is all this universe, all that has been, and all that shall be, and all this world is in you, assuming this universal form. From you is yajna derived, and all oblations, and curds and ghee, and animals, domestic or wild. From you the Rig Veda, the Sama, the Chandas of the Vedas, and the Yajurveda are born. Horses and cows having teeth in one jaw only proceed from you, and from you come goats, sheep, deer. Brahman sprang from your mouth, Kshatriyas from your arms, Vaishyas from your thighs, and Shudras from your feet. From thine eyes come the sun, from thine ears the wind, from your mind the moon, the vital airs from your central nadi, and fire from your mouth, the sky from your navel, and heaven from your head, the regions from thine ears, the earth from your feet. All this world was derived from you. As the wide-spreading Nyagrodha tree is compressed in a small seed from which it grows, so at the time of dissolution, the whole universe is comprehended in you as its germ. As the Nyagrodha germinates from the seed and becomes first a shoot, and then rises into loftiness, so the created world proceeds from you and expands into magnitude. As the bark and leaves of the plantain tree are to be seen in its stem, so you are the seed of the universe, and all things are visible in you. The faculties of the intellect that are the cause of pleasure and of pain abide in you as one with all existence. But the sources of pleasure and of pain, singly or blended, do not exist in you who are exempt from all qualities. Salutation to you, the subtle rudiment, which, being single, becomes manifold. Salutation to you, soul of existent things, identical with the great elements. You, imperishable, are beheld in spiritual knowledge as perceptible objects, as nature, as spirit, as the world, as Brahma, as Manu, by internal contemplation. But you are in all, the element of all. You are all, assuming every form. All is from you, and you are from thyself. I salute you, universal soul. Glory be to you. You are one with all things. O Lord of all, you are present in all things. What can I say to you? You know all that is in the heart, O soul of all, sovereign Lord of all creatures, origin of all things. You who are all beings, knowest the desires of all creatures. The desire that I cherish has been gratified, Lord, by you. My devotions have been crowned with success in that I have seen you. Vishnu said to Dhruva, the object of your devotions has, in truth, been attained in that you have seen me. For the darshan of me, young prince, is never unproductive. Ask, therefore, of me what boon you desire. For men in whose sight I appear obtain all their wishes. To this Dhruva answered, Lord God of all creatures, who abidest in the hearts of all, how should the wish that I cherish be unknown to you? I well confess unto you the hope that my presumptuous heart has entertained, a hope that it would be difficult to gratify, but that nothing is difficult when you, creator of the world, are pleased. Through your favor, Indra reigns over the three worlds. The sister queen of my mother has said to me, loudly and arrogantly, the royal throne is not for one who is not born of me, and I now solicit of the support of the universe an exalted station, superior to all others, and one that shall endure forever. Vishnu said to him, the station that you ask you shall obtain, for I was satisfied with you of old in a prior existence. You were formerly a Brahmin whose thoughts were ever devoted to me, ever dutiful to your parents, and observant of your duties. In course of time, a prince became your friend, who was in the period of youth, indulged in all sensual pleasures, and was of handsome appearance and elegant form. Beholding, in consequence of associating with him, his affluence, you formed the desire that you might be subsequently born as the son of a Raja, and according to your wish, you obtained a princely birth in the illustrious mansion of Uttanapada. But that which would have been thought a great boon by others, birth in the race of Swayambhuva, you have not so considered, and therefore have propitiated me. The man who worships me obtains speedy liberation from life. What is heaven to one whose mind is fixed on me? A station shall be assigned to you, Dhruva, above the three worlds, one in which you shall sustain the stars and the planets, a station above those of the sun, the moon, Mangala, Buddha the son of Soma, Shukra, Shani the son of Surya, and all the other constellations, the nakshatras, above the regions of the Saptarishis and the divinities who traverse the atmosphere. Those being the Vaimanika devas, or the devas who ride in vimanas. Some celestial beings endure for 4 yugas, some for the reign of a Manu. To you shall be granted the duration of a kalpa. Your mother Sumati, in the orb of a bright star, shall abide near you for a similar term, and all those who, with minds attentive, shall glorify you at dawn or at eventide shall acquire exceeding punyam. Thus the sage Dhruva, having received a boon from Janardana, the Lord of gods and Lord of the world, resides in an exalted station. Beholding his glory, Ushanas, the guru of the Devas and Asuras, repeated these verses. Wonderful is the efficacy of this tapas. Marvelous is its reward that the Saptarishis should be preceded by Dhruva. This too is the pious Suniti whose parent, who is called Sonrata. Who can celebrate her greatness, who having given birth to Dhruva, has become the asylum of the three worlds, enjoying to all future time an elevated station, a station eminent above all. He who shall worthily describe the ascent into the sky of Dhruva, forever shall be freed from all sin and enjoy the heaven of Indra. Whatever be his dignity, whether upon earth or in heaven, he shall never fall from it, but shall long enjoy life possessed of every blessing. Chapter 13. Parashara continued. The sons of Dhruva, by his wife Shambhu, were Bhavya and Slishti. Suchaya, the wife of Bhavya, was the mother of 5 virtuous sons, Ripu, Ripunjaya, Vipra, Vrakala, and Vrakatejas. The son of Ripu by Vrahati was the illustrious Chakshusha, who begot the Manu Chakshusha on Pushkarini of the family of Varuna, the daughter of the venerable patriarch Anaranya. The Manu had by his wife Navala, the daughter of the patriarch Vairaja, 10 noble sons, Uru, Puru, Satadyumna, Tapashvi, Satyavak, Kavi, Agnishtoma, Atirachra, Sudyumna, and Abhimanyu. The wife of Uru, Agneyi, bore 6 excellent sons, Anga, Sumanas, Swati, Kratu, Angiras, and Shiva. This, of course, not being Mahadeva Shiva, but someone named after him. Anga had, by his wife Sunita, only one son, named Vena, whose right arm was rubbed by the rishis for the purpose of producing from it progeny. And we are about to get into an explanation of what that means. From the arm of Vena thus rubbed sprang a celebrated monarch named Prithu, by whom in olden time the earth was milked for the advantage of mankind. Maitreya said, "Best of Munis, tell me why was the right hand or arm of Vena rubbed by the holy sages, in consequence of which the heroic Prithu was produced?" Parashara said, "Sunita was originally the daughter of Mrityu, by whom she was given to Anga to wife. She bore him Vena, who inherited the evil propensities of his maternal grandfather. When he was inaugurated by the rishis, monarch of the earth, he caused it to be everywhere proclaimed no worship should be performed, no oblations offered, no gifts bestowed upon the Brahmanas. I, the Raja, said he, am the Lord of Yajna, for who but I am entitled to the oblations." The rishis, respectfully approaching the sovereign, addressed him in melodious accents and said, "Gracious prince, we salute you. Hear what we have to represent." And it is no coincidence they addressed him as prince, a lesser royal title than the one he claims. "For the preservation of your kingdom and your life, and for the benefit of all your subjects, permit us to worship Hari, the Lord of all Yajna, the God of gods, with solemn and protracted rites." Specifically, what they're saying is that they're asking to perform the Dirg Basaira, or the long yajna, which is a ceremony lasting 1,000 years, that they are specifically requesting permission to perform. "A portion of the fruit of which will revert to you." That is, the land will be fertile in proportion as the deva is propitiated. And a 6th part of the merit and the produce will be his. "Vishnu, the god of oblations, being propitiated with yajna by us, will grant you, O Raja, all your desires. Those princes have half their wishes gratified, in whose realms Hari, the Lord of Yajna, is adored with sacrificial rites." Vena said, "Who is superior to me? Who besides me is entitled to worship? Who is this Hari whom you style the Lord of Yajna? Brahma, Janardana, Shambhu, Indra, Vayu, Yama, Ravi, Hutabhuk, Varuna, Dhata, Pusha, Bhumi, the Lord of Night, all these and whatever other gods there be who listen to our vows, all these are present in the person of a king. The essence of a sovereign is all that is divine. Conscious of this, I have issued my commands and look to you to obey them. You are not to sacrifice, not to offer oblations, not to give alms. As the first duty of women is obedience to their lord, so observance of my orders is incumbent, holy men, on you." Rishis replied, "Give command, great king, that piety may suffer no decrease. All this world is but a transmutation of oblations, and if devotion be suppressed, the world is at an end." Parashara continued, "But Vena was entreated in vain, and although this request was repeated by the sages, he refused to give the order they suggested. Then those pious munis were filled with wrath and cried out to each other, 'Let this wicked wretch be slain. The impious man who has reviled the god of Yajna, who is without beginning or end, is not fit to reign over the earth.' And they fell upon the Raja and beat him with blades of holy grass consecrated by prayer, and so slew him, who had already been destroyed by his impiety towards God. Afterwards, the Muni beheld a great dust arise, and they said to the people who were nigh, 'What is this? And the people answered and said, now that the kingdom is without a king, the dishonest men have begun to seize the property of their neighbors. The great dust that you behold, excellent Munis, is raised by troops of clustering robbers, hastening to fall upon their prey. The sages, hearing this, consulted, and together rubbed the thigh of the king, who had left no offspring to produce a son. So earlier they mentioned the right arm, now the thigh. In general, rubbed one or more of the limbs, I guess, of the Raja. From the thigh, thus nibbled. I'm assuming by nibbled we mean not with teeth, but in a metaphorical sense, from which a nourishing essence was extracted, which is exactly what nibbling something is. Came forth a being of the complexion of a charred steak, with flattened features and of dwarfish stature. What am I to do? Cried he eagerly to the Munis. Sit down, said they, which in Sanskrit is Nishida, and thence he took his name to be Nishada, or literally the sitter. His descendants, the inhabitants of the Vindhya mountains, great Muni, are still called the Nishadas, and are characterized by the exterior tokens of depravity. By this means, the wickedness of Verna was expelled, those Nishadas being born of his sins and carrying them away. The Brahmanas then proceeded to rub the right arm of the king, from whose friction was engendered the illustrious son of Verna named Prithu, resplendent in person, as if the blazing deity of fire had been manifested. There then fell from the sky the primitive bow, by primitive we mean more primordial bow, of Mahadeva, named Ajagava, and celestial arrows, and panoply from heaven. At the birth of Prithu, all living creatures rejoiced, and Vena, delivered by his being born from the Naraka named Put, where he spent some time, then ascended to the realms above. The seas and rivers, bringing jewels from their depths, and water to perform the ablutions of his installation, appeared. The great parent of all, Brahma, with the gods and the descendants of Angiras, the fires, meaning the Agni Devas, and with all things animate or inanimate, assembled and performed the ceremony of consecrating the son of Vena. Beholding in his right hand the mark of the discus of Vishnu, Brahma recognized an ansha, a portion of that divinity in Prithu, that he was an ansha avatar, and was much pleased, for the mark of Vishnu's discus is visible in the hand of one who is born to be a universal emperor, one whose power is invincible, even by the Devas, a Chakravarti. The mighty Prithu, the son of Vena, being thus invested with universal dominion by those who were skilled in the right, soon removed the grievances of the people whom his father had oppressed, and from winning their affections he derived the title of Raja, or king. The waters became solid when he wished to traverse the ocean. The mountains opened him a path, his banner being passed unbroken through the forests because trees moved their boughs aside. The earth needed not cultivation to yield plants at his will, and at a thought food was prepared. All cows were like the cow of plenty. Honey was stored in every bower. At the yajna of the birth of Prithu, which was performed by Brahma, the intelligent Sutta was produced, and the juice of the monoplant on the very birthday. At that great yajna also was produced the accomplished Magadha, and the holy sages said to these two persons, Praise ye the king Prithu, the illustrious son of Verna, for this is your special function, and here is a fit subject for your praise. But they respectfully replied to the Brahmanas, the Sutta and the Magadha being two types of royal bards who praise kings. They said, we know not the acts of the newborn king of the earth. His merits are not understood by us. His fame is not spread abroad. Inform us upon what subject we may dilate in his praise. Praise the Raja, said the Rishis, for the acts this heroic monarch will perform. Praise him for the virtues he will display. Parashara said, the Raja, hearing these words, was much pleased, and reflected that persons acquire commendation by virtuous actions, and that consequently his virtuous conduct would be the theme of the eulogium which the bards were about to pronounce, Whatever merits, then, they should panegyrize in their encomium, he determined that he would endeavor to acquire, and if they should point out what faults ought to be avoided, he would try to shun them. He therefore listened attentively as the sweet-voiced encomiasts celebrated the future virtues of Prithu, the enlightened son of Vena. The Raja is a speaker of truth, they said, bounteous, an observer of his promises. He is wise, benevolent, patient, valiant, and a terror to the wicked. He knows his duties. He acknowledges services done to him. He is compassionate and kind-spoken. He respects the venerable. He performs yajnas. He reverences the Brahmans. He cherishes the good, and in administering justice is indifferent to who is his personal friend or foe. The virtues thus celebrated by the Sutta and the Magadha were cherished in the remembrance of the Raja. In other words, he tried to remember that he should follow these principles and practiced by him when occasion arose. Protecting this earth, the monarch performed many great sacrificial ceremonies accompanied by liberal donations. His subjects soon approached him, suffering from the famine by which they were afflicted, as all edible plants had perished during the season of anarchy. In reply to his question of the cause of their coming, they told him that in the interval in which the earth was without a king, all vegetable products had been withheld, and that consequently the people had begun to perish. They said, "O Raja, you are the bestower of subsistence to us. You are appointed by the Creator, the protector of the people. Grant us vegetables, the support of the lives of your subjects, who are perishing with hunger." On hearing this, Prithu took up his divine bow, Ajagava, and his celestial arrows that Shiva had given him, and in great wrath marched forth to assail the earth. Earth, assuming the figure of a cow, fled hastily from him and traversed, through fear of the Raja, the regions of Brahma and the other heavenly spheres. But wherever went the supporter of living things, there she beheld Venya, the son of Vena, with uplifted weapons. And at last, trembling with terror and anxious to escape his arrows, the earth addressed Prithu, the hero of resistless prowess. The earth said, "Know you not, king of men, the sin of killing a female, that you thus perseveringly seek to slay me?" Prithu replied, "When the happiness of many is secured by the destruction of one malignant being, the death of that being is an act of virtue." The earth said, "But if in order to promote the welfare of your subjects you put an end to me, whence, best of monarchs, will your people derive their support?" "Disobedient to my rule," rejoined Prithu, "if I destroy you, I will support my people by the efficacy of my own devotions." Then the earth, overcome with apprehension and trembling in every limb, respectfully saluted the king and thus spoke, "All undertakings are successful, if suitable means of effecting them are employed. I will impart to you the means of success which you can make use of, if you please. All vegetable produces are old and destroyed by me, but at your command I will restore them, as developed from my milk. Do you, therefore, for the benefit of humankind, most virtuous of princes, give me that calf by which I may be able to secrete milk. Make also all places level, so that I may cause my milk, the seed of all vegetation, to flow everywhere around." Prithu accordingly uprooted the mountains by hundreds and thousands for myriads of leagues, and they were thenceforth piled upon one another. Before his time, there were no defined boundaries of villages or towns upon the irregular surface of the earth. There was no cultivation, no pasture, no agriculture, no highway for merchants. All these things, all civilization, originated in the reign of Prithu. Where the ground was made level, the king induced his subjects to take up their abode. Before his time also, the fruits and roots which constituted the food of the people were procured with great difficulty, all vegetables having been destroyed. And he therefore, having made Swayambhuva Manu the calf, milked the earth, and received the milk into his own hand for the benefit of humankind. Thence proceeded all kinds of corn and vegetables upon which people subsist now and perpetually. By granting life to the earth, Prithu was as her father, and she thence derived the patronymic appellation Prithvi. Thence the gods, the sages, the asuras, the rakshasas, the gandharvas, yakshas, pitris, nagas, the mountains and trees, each took a milking vessel suited to their kind, and milked the earth of an appropriate milk, and the milker and the calf were both peculiar to their own species. This earth the mother, the nurse, the receptacle and nourisher of all existent things, was produced from the sole of the foot of Vishnu. And thus was born the mighty Prithu, the heroic son of Vena, who was the lord of the earth, and who from conciliating the affections of the people was the first ruler to whom the title of Raja was ascribed. Whoever shall recite this story of the birth of Prithu, the son of Vena, shall never suffer any retribution for the evil he may have committed. And such is the virtue of the tale of Prithu's birth, that those who hear it repeated shall be relieved from affliction. Relieved from affliction, that line could also be interpreted that their evil dreams shall be counteracted, that it will relieve them of nightmares specifically. Chapter 14. Prithu had two valiant sons, Antardhi and Pali. The son of Antardhana, by his wife Shikandini, was Havirdhana, to whom Dhishana, a princess of the race of Agni, bore 6 sons, Prachina Varhis, Shukra, Gaya, Krishna, Vraja, and Ajina. The first of these was a mighty prince and patriarch by whom humankind was multiplied after the death of Havirdhana. He was called Prachina Varhis from his placing upon the earth the sacred grass, pointing to the east. At the termination of a rigid tapas, he married Savarna, the daughter of the ocean, who had been previously betrothed to him, and who had by the king 10 sons who were all styled the Prachetasas and were skilled in military science. They all observed the same duties, practiced religious austerities, and remained immersed in the bed of the sea for 10,000 years. Maitreya said, please inform me, great sage, why the magnanimous Prachetasas engaged in tapas in the waters of the sea. Parashara said, the sons of Prachina Varhis were originally informed by their father, who had been appointed as a patriarch and whose mind was intent on multiplying mankind, that he had been respectfully enjoined by Brahma, the god of gods, to labor to this end, and that he had promised obedience. Now, therefore, continued he, do you, my sons, to oblige me, diligently promote the increase of the people, for the orders of the father of all creatures are entitled to respect. The sons of the king, having heard their father's words, replied, so be it. But they then inquired of him, as he could best explain it, by what means they might best accomplish the augmentation of humankind. He said to them, whoever worships Vishnu, the bestower of good, attains undoubtedly the object of his desires. There is no other mode. What further can I tell you? Adore therefore Govinda, who is Hari, the Lord of all beings, in order to effect the increase of the human race if you wish to succeed. The eternal Purushottama is to be propitiated by him who wishes for virtue, wealth, enjoyment, or liberation. In other words, dharma, artha, kama, or moksha. Adore him, the imperishable Achyuta, by whom, when propitiated, the world was first created, and humankind will assuredly be multiplied. Parashara said, thus instructed by their father, the 10 Prachetasas plunged into the depths of the ocean, and with minds wholly devoted to Narayana, the sovereign of the universe who is beyond all worlds, were engrossed by religious austerity for 10,000 years. Remaining there, they with fixed thoughts praised Hari, who, when propitiated, confers on those who praise him all that they desire. Maitreya said, the excellent praises that the Prachetasas addressed to Vishnu whilst they stood in the deep, you, O best of Munis, are qualified to repeat to me. Parashara said, hear, Maitreya, the hymn which the Prachetasas, as they stood in the waters of the sea, sang of old to Govinda, their nature being identified with him. The Prachetasas said, we bow to him whose glory is the perpetual theme of every speech, him first, him last, the supreme Lord of the boundless world, who is primeval light, who is without his like, indivisible and infinite, the origin of all existent things, movable or stationary. To that supreme being who is one with time, whose first forms, though he be without form, are day and evening and night, be adoration. Glory to him, the life of all living things, who is the same with the moon, the receptacle of ambrosia, drunk daily by the Devas and Pitris. To him who is one with the sun, the cause of heat and cold and rain, who dissipates the gloom and illuminates the sky with his radiance. to him who is one with earth, all-pervading, and the asylum of smell and other objects of sense, supporting the whole world by its solidity. We adore that form of the deity Hari which is water, the womb of the world, the seed of all living beings. Glory to the mouth of the gods, the eater of the Havya, to the eater of the Kavya, the mouth of the Pitris, to Vishnu, who is identical with fire, to him who is one with air, the origin of ether, existing as the 5 vital airs in the body, causing constant vital action, to him who is identical with the atmosphere, pure, illimitable, shapeless, separating all creatures. Glory to Krishna, who is Brahma in the form of sensible objects, who is ever the direction of the faculties of sense. We offer salutation to that supreme Hari who is one with the senses, both subtle and substantial, the recipient of all impressions, the root of all knowledge, to the universal soul who, as internal intellect, delivers the impressions received by the senses to soul, to him who has the properties of Prakriti, in whom without end rest all things, from whom all things proceed, and who is that into which all things resolve. We worship that Purushottama, the God who is pure spirit, and who, without qualities, is ignorantly Brahma, the ultimate condition of Vishnu, unproductive, unborn, pure void of gunas, and free from accidents, who is neither high nor low, neither bulky nor minute, has neither shape nor color, nor shadow, no substance, nor affection, nor body, who is neither ethereal nor susceptible of contact, smell, or taste, who has neither eyes nor ears, nor motion, nor speech, nor breath, nor mind, nor name, nor considered as endowed with qualities. We adore the supreme without race, nor enjoyment, nor splendor, who is without cause, without fear, without error, without fault, undecaying, immortal, free from passion, without sound, imperceptible, inactive, independent of place or time, detached from all investing properties, but exercising irresistible might, and identified with all beings, dependent upon none. Glory to the nature of Vishnu, which tongue cannot tell, nor has eye beheld. Parashara said, thus glorifying Vishnu and intent in meditation on him, Prachetasas passed 10,000 years of tapas in the vast ocean, on which Hari, being pleased with them, appeared to them amidst the waters, of the complexion of the full-blown lotus leaf. Beholding him mounted on the Raja of birds, Garuda, the Prachetasas bowed down their heads in devout homage, when Vishnu said to them, receive the boon you have desired, for I, the giver of good, am content with you and am present. Prachetasas replied to him with reverence, and told him that the cause of their devotions was the command of their father to effect the multiplication of humankind. The god, having accordingly granted to them the object of their prayers, disappeared, and they came up from the water. And I think that might be a good stopping point. The next chapter is a rather long one and moves on with the account of the various generations of the long genealogy. Thank you guys very much for coming.
Awesome. Thank you, Deva.
Thank you, Devla.
Thank you guys for coming. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, we are blessed to hear you together, me and Dr. N here. So we are together actually.
Yeah,
New
I
Jersey.
see.
Right.
Yeah, nice to see you. Also, I wanted to tell you, so we're for sure coming to Paramat Niketan this year. We are going to be there. I know our dates. We're going to be in Rishikesh October 9th, 10th, and 11th, at least this year.
You know, my news is after 32 years, I'm taking my 3 kids to Parmat Niketan, September 9, 10, and 11.
Nice.
September 9, 10, 11.
So you will be there October 9, 10, and 11.
Yeah.
We
a month
are
later,
going there, Parmat Niketan. We're going to stay there. And then in November 3rd, we'll come back for 2 weeks, November 3rd to 15. we have a eye camp there.
Nice.
My husband and me, we both are going to go again to Parmat Niketan to do the eye camp.
Nice.
It's God wish I want that.
So let me think,
Yeah.
because I was planning to go end of October and stay for the month for the camp.
Sure.
But now since you're going, I
You're
can
going.
think. I haven't booked my tickets yet. So
Yeah. I mean, no pressure if the plans don't match up, but yeah, October 9th, 10th, and 11th are the 3 nights we're going to be staying either at the Paramart or in Rishikesh right next to it. Yeah.
But if you need anything per month, like, even the accommodation, if they don't, just give her name. They will make. No, we are so lucky. The Swamiji, even my sisters, my brother-in-law just, left his body. And Swamiji had sent a nice message. They were here just, in Pittsburgh. They just left this Friday, Swamiji and Bhagwati ji. Yeah.
Okay.
So they both left, and then they are going everywhere in the world. But I asked them, if they are there, then we'll come to the Parmat, and this is Swamiji will be there. But they will, will very generous to us. Gave a
Nice.
very nice message, Swamiji, family's blessings, and always God's and Guru's grace is always with us. So that's. I was in the morning when I got up and I was listening the lecture, one of the Maharshis you have, posted before. So,
it's what in the in the chat. Yeah.
so you can have a nice, safe journey.
Yeah. Thank you.
I will show them your picture when I go there. That this is our one of our devotees is coming here, and I will take a couple of people there. They are nice to us, and then the Nisha is always.
I will let them know that you're going. That 9.
So how divine is connected. It's just so amazing that we all are so connected, and it's so nice to hear Srimad Bhagavad from your voice, Vishnu Puran. Yeah, this time Vishnu Puran from your voice.
Yeah. I really like doing this. So yeah, thank you guys for coming. I really enjoy doing this as a group.
We are so blessed to hear you.
We actually introduced you to the rest of the family.
Yeah.
They are all around, and I turned it on, and there is a next generation in that room. So as Vasviji said, that we are here because our oldest brother-in-law passed away, so we are in New Jersey, and I started this, and I'm like, I want to introduce you all to this. So,
and in
you'll
future,
never know.
we will,
We
will travel together in the holy place of Rishikesh, near Ganges.
That's our oldest sister.
Namaste.
Namaste. Yeah, nice to meet you.
This is my sister's house. We are here,
Yeah.
and doing all the ceremonies, the rituals that we have to do, 12 days, and so we are here together. Yeah. He's so much into it, all the things, but he knows.
So we will catch up. I'll see you next week, definitely.
All right. Yeah.
Shri Krishna.
Yeah. Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna. Thank you, Deva.
Yep.